Do you ever start your day with a plan and then somehow you get off track? It's kind of like you walk down the beach and the tide comes in and just sweeps you away. Whatever you had planned for the day kind of just goes by the wayside, and you get to the end of the day wondering, why didn't I have any time to get around to doing what I wanted to do? You ever find yourself consumed by distractions, or the goals that you have for the day get overrun by others' agenda for you? This video is about staying focused on what is most important to you and how to live your day so that you get around to making progress on those things that make life meaningful for you. How do we keep the priorities at the center of attention? How do we minimize the impact of distractions? My name is Alan Olson. I am a therapist, a lifestyle strategist, creator of the 40-Day Leap Life Empowerment Action Plan, and I'm doing this series, a 3-part series on livingintentionally.me, to try to give people some tools to start their day right, to end the day right, and what this video is focused on, making the middle of my day count by actually getting around to the things that are important to me. So a midday routine. What we're trying to do is come up with several points during the day that I am reconnecting with what my actual goals are, what my motivation is, and what I'm trying to accomplish with the day. Why are we talking about this? What's the problem? The problem is we drift, we lose focus, we become unproductive, we procrastinate. We get sucked into the agendas of other people, whether it is at work, trying to accomplish the responsibilities there, or whether it's on the home front, trying to meet the needs of everyone else in our family and our friends. The result is that we wind up jumping through other people's hoops. We switch to the urgent and not important things, and we get pulled away from things that maybe don't have the urgency but are really, truly important to us, and ultimately to those around us. What that leads to is little or no progress for you. It can lead to frustration, it can lead to a sense of hopelessness, and eventually, as I've dealt with in hundreds of people, being unproductive on pursuing or even knowing what your own goals are and not being able to get around to them can lead to depression. So we want to try to avoid that. We want to try to be positively minded and feel like we're making some progress on a day-to-day basis. What I call stumbling forward in life. I don't think my life has ever been a situation where I've been confidently taking huge strides, making incredible progress. I always stumble, I always fall, I always kind of look a little bit awkward in how I'm doing it. But my goal is that I'm stumbling forward, that I'm always making progress towards the bigger goals that I have. So what's the solution to this? And to explain that, I use kind of an analogy of what I call the homing beacon. If you're flying an airplane and you're able to set it on automatic pilot, there's something about that automatic pilot mechanism that is connecting with the homing beacon, connecting with the GPS location of your destination, and it's saying, okay, I'm going to check every so often. In the case of an autopilot, it's probably several times a second, to make sure we're not drifting off course, that the wind isn't blowing us off course, that we're not steering in the wrong direction. We're going to do something to correct our course at various intervals to make sure we're staying on the course. In order to do that, we need to identify waypoints. We need to identify, on the way from here to here, what am I doing to know that I'm staying on the course that I've defined for myself? And how do I make these course corrections? I want to take time to step away from my life just a little bit and take a few minutes to just say, am I on track? Am I doing what I said I was going to be doing? If I'm not, am I changing course with meaning and purpose that I can connect with? We're going to do some deep breathing. We're going to review your key objectives and what I call emotionally re-engaging with the why of those objectives. So I'm going to look at the list I put together in the morning during my morning routine and say, what is it that was important to me? Am I still on track? Am I still connected with doing those when and where and how I said I would do them? And along with that, as I bring that objective up, I'm trying to fire off in my brain the emotional importance that I had for doing that. Now, let me connect with you why that's important. As we go through the day, the things that distract us, the things that take up our time, are the things that seem in that moment to be important. and I become emotionally engaged in that, even if it's jumping through something that is mindless and meaningless that someone else has asked me to do. I become emotionally engaged in that moment. I always say that we don't do the things that we think we should do. We do the things we feel we should do. So when I'm distracted, I'm getting pulled in that way because I am feeling like that's what I want to do right now. Even though my larger goal, my larger objective, maybe what I know I should be doing, I'm not connected emotionally to that objective at that moment. So taking these breaks is stepping aside and saying, what was my emotional motivation? I want to recapture that and then re-engage with my life. So in order to do that, I've broken the day down into what works as 9 chunks of the day. Now this is what works for me. I encourage you to customize this, make this work for you, but I want to lay it out in the way that I envision it. The first chunk of the day is what another video in this series has already talked about. What is the morning routine? What am I doing in the morning? For me, it's like approximately 2 hours from 6 to 8 o'clock in the morning. It's going through this routine of setting the day up and having some breakfast, showering, getting ready for the day, the morning commute. That's the first big chunk of the day. I think it's one of the most crucial parts of the day because it sets you up for how the rest of the day plays out. If you haven't already seen the morning routine video, check that out. Download the free download that's available for suggestions about how to conduct your morning routine. I would suggest that wherever you get when you're going, either you get the kids off to school or you finally arrive at work, you sit down at your desk, you want to take just a moment or two, put the riot out of your head, put the busyness that you just endured out of your head, and reconnect with that list. What are my objectives? What am I going to do during this 2-hour block of time? And head back into it. This is typically the most productive time of the day. It's when most people seem to do the most creative thinking. People who are not morning people may not agree with this. Your creative time may be later on in the evening. But for a lot of people, this is when you're jazzed, you're energized, you're ready to go, and you may want to structure this time of the day to do some of your creative stuff, to put some of the tasks of the day, emails, responding to voicemails, mindless things. You may want to just wall off, put some boundaries up to that stuff, and put that off to later in the day when you don't have the kind of energy that you might have in the morning. The next break is something from 10 to 12 o'clock. Around 10 o'clock, I want to have something that pulls me out of whatever I'm doing in the morning and gives me an opportunity to make sure I haven't gotten bogged down in something, that I'm staying fresh, that I'm staying committed to those objectives. After the mid-morning, the fourth chunk of the day is lunch. Usually that's from noon to 1 o'clock. It's time that is set aside from the normal work routine because we're supposed to eat. It's time to refuel myself. In addition to that, take some time to pull away, see if there's anything you need to get done during that lunch hour when maybe your time is a little bit more your own. Come up for air, refocus, gain perspective. The fifth chunk, coming back from lunch, early afternoon, 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. This is time to work on predefined projects, something you can do with enthusiasm, something you've got some energy to. You want to avoid the midday bogged down that you can get after lunch. So maybe doing some intense 30-second block of intense exercise. Maybe you just drop and do push-ups, do jumping jacks for 30 seconds, run in place. Find a place where you can get your heart rate up, you can get your metabolism re-kicked in and head into that early afternoon block. Now late afternoon, 3 o'clock to about 5 or 6 o'clock is what I call the late afternoon chunk. That is a good time of day if you can structure your life this way to do kind of the small, mindless to-dos. Most people are not at their creative peak during this time of day. It's at the other end of the clock than the middle of your normal sleep cycle. And so there's just kind of a natural lull that kind of falls upon us during this time of day. Again, something that's going to be an intense burst of energy might get you going. If you have time and room in the day for a nap, this would be the time to do it, but keep it short, 30 to 45 minutes. Now, here's one of the biggest shifts, the evening block of time, 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. This is where you're getting home at the end of the day, you're getting ready for dinner. Before you head into that evening part, take a time to step back again and reconnect with what is important to me. You may need to change your focus here. Put your workday out of your mind. Bring up your relationships, what you want to accomplish in your relationships, what you want to accomplish at home. any activities that you have in the evening, connect with the emotion of doing those activities. Be connected with the opportunity to interact with your loved ones and get enthused about that. Don't just blindly head into it. So it's a momentum shift, and it's time to reprioritize the different areas of your life. If you're going to do exercise, you want to do it during the early part of this. If you haven't been able to get your exercise in earlier in the day, you don't want to be exercising late unless you absolutely have to, because that revs your metabolism up, doesn't set you up well for sleep. So if you've got an exercise time at the end of your workday, try and get that in early. The next chunk of the day, chunk 8, is what I would call your evening routine. Now again, that's the focus of another video in this series. It's about 1 hour of time. It's the time to wind down. It's the time to congratulate yourself on getting through the day, to release the day, to have gratitude. You want to be able to slow down, allow your body to prepare yourself for rest. So getting stress, getting work, getting high intensity or high action stimulation out of your day at this point, so you can wind down and be prepared for the 9th chunk of the day, the biggest chunk of the day, because it's about 8 hours of time. This is your sleep cycle. It's important that you look at sleep as being an important part of your day. It has just more benefits than we have ever really understood. And I think we're coming more and more into understanding the significance of getting adequate sleep. Again, I'm going to cover this in the evening routine. But this is a significant chunk of the day. Don't shortchange it. The only focus during this time of day is that you are at perfect rest and fully enjoying being comfortable, lying in bed, and getting some well-needed rest. So how do we implement these times a day? How do I know when I'm getting to one of these chunks of time so that I can pull away from it? I think it's important to just set some key point reminders wherever these breaks are for you. And you get a chance in the free download to customize this plan so that you can break up the day in the way that makes sense for you. Whether it's 9 chunks or 7 or 4, when are the times when you're going to have these key points? For me, it's really convenient to set reminders, set repeating alarms on my phone. They go off, they remind me, hey, this is that time to pull away, take a few deep breaths, review your list of objectives, make sure you're on track emotionally with it. Other times, natural events, arriving at work, arriving back at home, sitting down for lunch. Those can be the normal times that keys your mind to say, okay, this is when I'm going to get refocused. If you find yourself still being distracted and pulled off base between these chunks of the day, it may be important to look at how are you breaking up your time in the middle of these chunks in order to stay focused. You may want to look into some productivity management. There's a technique called the Pomodoro technique, named after a tomato, not really sure why, but the focus of it is to look at your time throughout the day in 25-minute blocks with a 5-minute break to kind of get reconnected and refocus. And then you head into your other 25-minute block. Even if it's the same activity, it keeps us mentally fresh if we're able to pull away, change our focus, and then jump back into it. Not real good if you're really attention deficit, but it's a discipline that you can develop. So it's involving quick shifts away and then back again. In addition to that, spend time throughout the day standing. The more and more research is coming up about how detrimental it is to be overly sedentary. If you are sitting down 6 to 8 hours a day and not giving your body a chance to keep your metabolism going and get your blood flowing, there are detrimental impacts that is going to have to your health, your immunity, and your longevity on this planet. So find ways of spending time standing up, moving around, get your blood flowing throughout the day. The sedentary lifestyle is not good for us. Be using these breaks to release stress, to say whatever I've done in this previous chunk, I'm letting go of. As I head into this new stress, this new chunk of the day, I want to be stress-free. I want to have a clean slate. And the final word about this is be aware that you're going to encounter what I would call productive distractions. It's too easy to come up with this rigid agenda of how I want to live this day and miss the fact that I'm living it amongst other people, that I'm a part of community. Other people and your relationships with them are ultimately more important than your agenda for the day. Leave room to be a real, caring human being. Engage yourself in the life of others. If that takes you a little bit off course, you're going to be okay, because you're going to be more satisfied with the impact and significance you have in other people's lives. Finally, in conclusion, just remember that every discipline requires a commitment of action until it settles into habit. If you regularly get detoured from the day you have planned, you need to change something. Try implementing at least one idea from this video. Download the free handout, subscribe to my channel if you want, but most importantly, make each day count. Live your life with purpose and with intention.